Today, I wanted to talk about nurturing our bodies and our babies during pregnancy and postpartum. And because the time is very limited and this topic can extend, like I could talk about this for hours, but since I have 15 minutes to talk to you guys, I wanted to focus on my personal experience, especially with this pregnancy and during the pandemic, to provide you guys with some helpful tips and real life tools that you can use during pregnancy and postpartum so you can make sure you're getting your nutrition. I always like to begin talking about self-love. I think this is something that maybe something that would connect all panelists a little bit. I love that Stephanie was talking about how important it is for women to make themselves a priority at this time. I think as women, we have a tendency to put ourselves last, and this creates a state of disconnect that makes it very difficult to just maintain joy and health, and let alone eat a healthy diet. So it is very important. I wanted to bring it up because it's not something that your health practitioner is likely to bring up. And it's too much seen in our culture that women just kind of like neglect themselves in order to attend to others without realizing taking care of themselves is the best way to take care of others. So I just wanted right now for all of us to take a breath and just kind of just see and our worth, our power, and that all the love and the challenges that come with pregnancy and having a baby are not going to be able to be sustained if we don't love ourselves enough to take care of ourselves. So this is very important, and I just wanted to bring it up. The benefits of self-love, I made this slide here that says that establishes better connection with you and your baby. It improves mindset, which is proven to make you be more successful in any endeavor that you take. If you have a positive mindset, it is easier for you to succeed. So if you're trying to establish healthy eating patterns, this is going to be very helpful. So why is nutrition so important? I think all of us know that it's important, but maybe we don't think about the reasons why. And it's very important during pregnancy. It's very important at any stage of your lives, but pregnancy, because it's going to help you set the stage for a healthy pregnancy. It has a potential to alter your baby's genes. So there's studies that have shown that depending on the parents' nutrition, it can affect how the baby's some of the baby's character traits when they're older as well. So they could be suffering from chronic conditions that might be related to some kind of genetic component that became from pregnancy. Good nutrition is also going to improve your recovery postpartum, which is very, very important. I want to make sure that everybody understands that nutrition postpartum is just as important as nutrition during pregnancy. During this time, we are going to be taking on a lot of work and our bodies are healing. So it's very, very important that we take care of ourselves. It has a huge impact on mental health, and it's a little bit challenging, when you have a baby and your lack of sleep and there's all these things that you must do. It's very hard to keep your mind positive and all that kind of stuff. So nutrition is going to play a role in there too. Plus, it will prepare your body for the challenges in motherhood. All right. So what does it look like? I wanted to make this drawing to make it easier for everybody to see kind of what it looks like, because I could be talking about, like eat lots of fruits and vegetables, and sometimes it's harder to visualize. So you will want to look for your diet pregnancy. Carbohydrates are going to be very important. I mean, proteins are extremely important as well, and healthy fats. You're going to be increasing your intake of those a little bit during pregnancy. And this plate is kind of how it would look like. So you want to make sure like about half of your plate is loaded with like veggies and fruits, because they are very high in fiber, and they are also very high in minerals and micronutrients that you're going to be needing, like calcium and iron and folate and stuff like that. So you want to make sure you're including plenty of those. So there you go. So that's just to give you kind of a visual. As I was saying, like protein is very, very important too. Protein is like one of the key nutrients because it's our building block, and we're building a baby. So it's very important while we're pregnant, and very, very important postpartum, because our tissues are repairing after labor and all the strains of pregnancy. Then you're going to want to include also starchy veggies and whole grains. And this is kind of like the proportions I would see on a plate that would help you like get the optimal nutrition. Then you can add on healthy fats, which can be part of fruits and vegetables. It can be nuts, it can be dairy, fatty fish, things like that. And I put on the side dairy and nuts and seeds because this is something you can kind of sprinkle on your dishes or also use as healthy snacks during pregnancy and postpartum. All right. Let me know. I'm going to try to switch slides. I don't know what's going on. Oh, there we go. So did it switch slides now, Melissa?
Yes, it did.
Okay. All right, good. So I'm going to go under that assumption from now on. So I wanted to just kind of simplify this whole nutrition thing because it can sound very daunting, but it really doesn't need to be. When it comes to diet during nutrition and postpartum, aside from increasing the amounts of some nutrients, it is very, very similar to the kind of diet you would want to have anyways. And these are some of my tips that I used and was very successful with during this last pregnancy, during the pandemic, which was very stressful, and postpartum as well, which has helped me really kind of like bounce back a lot better than in previous pregnancies. So one of the points, and this is a good one, is to pre-prepare your meals. So that way you don't have to be reaching out to whatever is available when you're like exhausted and stressed out. If you can make it a habit to make it maybe during the weekends, pick a day or something like that, and kind of do a little bit meal planning. You can have your partner help you with this, family or friends, and that way you'll have things stored that are nutrient rich instead of having to reach out for like potato chips or whatever is available at the pantry in the moment. Which brings me to my second point, and it is to keep staple foods readily available. And when I talk about staple foods, I'm talking about foods that are nutrient rich and they are easy to prepare, easy to have access to, and easy to consume. So maybe nuts and seeds, some good quality cheeses, fermented foods like sauerkraut are great. And I will be sharing my go-tos after this slide. So we'll come back to that. The next point is something that Stephanie touched on, and it is to recruit friends and family. This is not a time for you to feel like a martyr and like you have to do everything yourself and take everything on your own. This is a time that you should be able to take a lot of help and you should be able to ask a lot of help. You'll be surprised that most people that love you, they want to help you. If you are the kind of person that loves to make schedules and plans like that, this is great because you can kind of just plan this ahead. I highly recommend during your pregnancy to make plans with people of like who's going to be bringing food, what days and things like that. When can they come help? Now, during the pandemic, this can be a little bit more challenging, but what I've had friends like drop food by my doorstep, and that has been incredibly helpful. And so I would suggest that you guys recruit your friends and family for things like that. Then another thing is to maximize absorption. And when this is more about like taking care of your gut so that the foods that we eat really have a positive impact on our health. If our gut is unhealthy, there's no point in eating super duper healthy foods if your body cannot use them. So we want to make sure that our body's absorbing those nutrients. And another tip for that is to use some things like bone broths and rich mineral broths, because those are very easy to absorb. And those make great pregnancy and postpartum staples on diet. And lastly, of course, like listen to your body. This comes again to the whole thing about self-love and connecting, because as women, we have an instinct and we can trust our bodies to tell us what we need and our want. And if we really fine tune that ability, then we'll know what we need and when. So how much should we be eating when we're full? If we need something else, things like that. So always listen to your body. That's very important when it comes to nutrition. So here I wanted to share my go-to staple foods. These are the foods that you're always going to find in my kitchen from pregnancy, postpartum, and beyond, because I feel like they pack a lot of nutrition and they're fairly easy to consume at any given time. So number one for me is bone broth. This is great because it contains so many minerals. It contains collagen, it's high in protein, and this is going to be super helpful during pregnancy when we're building these little guys and after birth, because it's going to help us, like, our bodies heal. Our bodies are going to need a lot of protein to do a lot of healing, and the bone broths are great. And again, they're easy to absorb because they're liquid, and so those nutrients are easier to absorb for us. If you are vegetarian, there's also mineral broths. I love, my favorite recipe is the Magic Mineral Broth by Rebecca Katz. You can Google that. You can thank me later. It's amazing. It tastes great. I use it all the time. I give it to my kids. It's also very good to support your immune system. All right. Sauerkraut and fermented foods is when I was talking about nutrient absorption and taking care of your gut. These foods that have contained probiotics and prebiotics are great. I know it's kind of an acquired taste, but for example, sauerkraut is something that you can have like a spoonful of before you have any meal. It also will aid with digestion. So I sometimes put sauerkraut in nachos or things like that. There's also things like flax seeds or sprouted seeds like pumpkin or sunflower seed. Those I always try to have in the house because, again, I can sprinkle them on anything. You can sprinkle them on a smoothie. You can sprinkle them on your salad. You can sprinkle them on your egg. I'm like the queen of sprinkling things on food. There's also mixed salad greens. Those are great as well because dark leafy greens are very high in a lot of nutrients that are very important during pregnancy, like calcium, potassium, folate, and even iron. So if you have that accessible, it's so much easier to include a little bit of greens in almost every meals. Sometimes I'll have for breakfast a couple of eggs and then have a little bit of kale or a little bit of salad on the side. We should also like kind of open our minds to seeing foods not like, oh, breakfast food is cereal and orange juice. But breakfast food can really be any food. It's just a matter of us getting used to different things and trying things out. So eggs, of course, those are like a great superfood, high in protein, high in folate. They contain iron, even vitamin D, which is so important. It's very difficult to get from diet. The egg yolk contains vitamin D. Canned tuna, because it's so easy. Sometimes I'm very tired in the evening, and for dinner, I'll prepare tuna and rice, which I am from Puerto Rico, and I think that's a very Puerto Rican thing to do. And I'm not sure. So food is going to be influenced by your culture. And in this case, for me, like tuna with mayo and onion and rice, that's something that I sometimes eat. But if you don't like it like that, you can have it anyway, sandwiches. It's very easy. And you don't have to worry about the mercury content because you wouldn't need to be consuming like 50 cans of tuna a week or something like that for it to be a problem during pregnancy. Fresh fruits, of course, I always try to have those visible and readily available, not just for me, but for the kids. So I always try to set a bowl that has apples and oranges, bananas, things like that are within eye and reach, because then you won't be reaching so much for the cookies necessarily if you have all this other stuff available. I put stews in here because it's one of my favorite meals to prepare. It's so easy. You just drop a lot of stuff in the pot and like just let it cook. And this is the kind of meal that you can freeze and then have available later at another time. Plus, they're very nutrient rich. Oatmeal is also a great food because it contains protein and a lot of fiber, which is so important. So, because we can have troubles with our tummies during pregnancy, it's very common. So it's good to have a diet that contains enough fiber, which you will get with your greens, and your fruits, and oatmeal is also a great source. Plain yogurt is another one I love to have because I can use it for so many things, including smoothies. And I say plain yogurt and not flavored because flavored yogurt tends to be really high in sugar and other flavorings that are not necessarily the best thing to have during pregnancy. And then peanut butter, any kind of nut butter, because you can add it to a lot of things like toast, or you can even add it to celery or apples, and that will increase your protein intake. All right, I hope I'm not taking too long. I'm almost done. I wanted to include some quick tips for morning sickness. Unfortunately, there's no real known cure for this that I know of, and I had suffered it throughout all my pregnancies, but these are some of the things that helped me, and I would like to share them with you. One is trying broths and soups, which I mentioned earlier, are very rich in nutrients, so they will help you stay hydrated. They're easier to digest, and it's just less offensive when you're feeling sick. Eat smaller, more frequent meals, and you can just kind of split your meals and kind of, again, try to gauge yourself, see how you're feeling and what you need. Like, stop eating when you're full, and when you're hungry, eat. Just focus on that instead of being so like in the mindset of like how many calories I must have all the time. Try make flavored fruit popsicles, which is something I like to do with the kids, and you can add a little bit of ginger to that. And this is a fun one because it's really easy to make. You just like juice whatever fruits are your favorite and add a little bit of ginger and just freeze them. And then you have them available. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I think my phone is ringing. The other thing is to avoid fatty fried foods because those can be very heavy and very hard to digest, and they can make the morning sickness and nausea worse. Plus, they're very difficult to digest, so it takes a lot of work for your body to digest those foods. Plus, they're not good for nutrients. And then this doesn't have to do with food, but you have to try to get as much rest as possible. And it's very, very important for a pregnancy. Also, like take walks outside, fresh air usually helps with morning sickness. At least it did for me. And then postpartum, I think sometimes people are have issues with milk supply, or they feel like they do. I'm not an expert on this topic, but I'm sure other people on the panel will be able to like broaden this, talk about this more if necessary. But as far as my experience is concerned, you got to make sure you increase your calorie intake. You should be taking a roughly 500 extra calories a day, which can look like a couple of eggs and a sandwich. That could be an extra 500 calories. So it's not a whole lot, but just make sure you get it, and try to make sure you're getting it a good amount of it from healthy fats, because that's also going to help your milk be fattier, which is things that your baby needs for their brain and all that. I'm almost done. And stay hydrated. Try to drink half your body weight in water. This is going to be very, very important, super easy and super helpful. And get as much rest as possible. And the last thing is, I tried this pregnancy and was super helpful, was I tried placenta encapsulation. It's a very easy process to do, and it was incredibly helpful with my, not only with my milk supply, but also with my energy, mood, and all that stuff. And I think that's it. I just wanted to remind everybody that nutrition is not so much about calories as it is about connection, health, and joy, and that what and how we eat is a choice. So we have to try to make it one that's going to align with the way we want to live in health.